Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome to day 8 of the virtual San Diego Latino Film Festival. And to our Meet the Filmmakers. This is our 8th day hosting our Meet the Filmmakers videos. This is actually one of the funnest things I think I've gotten to do during the festival in all the years I worked, which is kind of interact with filmmakers a little bit before we actually watch their films, before we get to hear about them, their work, what drives them. Um, so before we start, though, we have a message from Enrique Mesa from Mission Fed Credit Union here. Hi, Enrique. How you doing?
Hi, Juan. Thanks for having us. I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. Uh, here, what would you like us to know?
Well, I think from us on behalf of Mission Fed, it's just been like the community has felt a whirlwind of excitement, of anticipation, anxiety, you name it, right? From being a part of this from March till now, I think what we're all feeling is a sense of pride, the fact that the festival continues, pride in the sense that you and your team have done an amazing job of bringing this to San Diego and highlighting some of the films that we get to watch together, including our Quinceañera, which is the film that we are sponsoring that we're very excited about.
Yeah, and we're very thankful for you, for Mission Fed, for continuing to support us throughout this, through, through through the months from the cancellation of the festival to now in a virtual setting. Um, is there any what have you guys been up to now that the pandemic has COVID has hit? How has that changed for you?
Yeah, I think for us, we jumped into a sense of how can we take care of each other, our employees, how do we take care of our members, and of course our community. So we jumped into sort of just partnering with our nonprofit partners, specifically the food bank, knowing food insecurity is a big issue and has been these last 6 months, tapping into some of what our members might need in terms of the financial wellness and insecurity, and then tapping into the community itself, including, of course, the Latino Film Festival, and seeing, what of these events that we're looking forward to being a part of in the spring, which ones unfortunately are canceled, given the reasons for the community's health, and which ones are still going to go virtual and still take place. And so it's been a rolling with the punches. It's been a rolling and supporting nonprofits. As you may know, Mission Fed as a credit union, we're part of a sector that's in essence considered essential. And we know that, again, my teammates are essential workers working the front lines of our branches. We have 32 across the county. And we know that directly the COVID has impacted our communities in different ways in different parts of San Diego County. And so we've been able to have that direct connection with our community, respond to the needs of our community, and again, at the same time, still be able to anxiously wait for events like the film festival, where again, we get to talk more about the movie that we're a sponsor of, but the fact that we just get to be a part of it is still a wonderful experience. It's something that I think we share with everyone that's being able to tap into this from when it's happened, from the film festival, from when it started, up until it concludes this coming Sunday.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have been really busy too. I'm guessing everything going virtual, all your nonprofits that you've been helping out have been it's been a I guess you've been it's been a change, right?
It's been a big change. I mean, you know directly because you Moises, Ethan, the team at Media Arts Center that puts on this wonderful festival. This is, I'm sure, been such a challenge for you unexpectedly, right? From March till now to be in this situation. But again, my teammates, our members that are watching and have been a part of this, our board of directors. I mean, there's so many of from Mission Fed side that is very proud of your team and is very proud of the fact that you're still able to give and provide a stage for filmmakers that, their livelihood in terms of what they do for art, what they do for a living, and what they do passionately is able to be brought to the masses. So again, thank you.
No, and I guess again, your sponsorship really helps help us bring these filmmakers and give them this platform. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. But what film will you be? Are you sponsoring today? You're sponsoring our quinceañera. You remember what time that plays?
Yeah, so our quinceañera is going to be playing today at 7 p.m. and it's followed by a Q&A at 8:15.
Thank you, Enrique, for joining us.
Thank you again for having us, and I do hope that everyone enjoys not just our quinceañera, but every one of these films that's been brought to you. So thank you again, Juan.
Awesome, thank you. And we have a quick message here from Ethan Vantillo, our executive director. It says, "Thank you, Mission Federal Credit Union, for your support of San Diego Latino Film Festival." Again, for anybody in the audience, you guys are welcome to send any messages at any point. They show up here for us. Any comments you have for the filmmakers, any questions, we'll try to get them as quickly as possible. All right. Thank you, Enrique, again for joining us, and we hope you have a great day. We'll see you a little bit later.
Thank you, Juan. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Awesome. Before I bring in the filmmakers, I'm going to bring in my colleague here, Moises Sparta. How you doing, Moises?
Hey, Juan. How's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
It's going well. It's going well.
Go.
Yeah. Trying to get things going.
Yeah, so we just heard from Enrique and Mission Fed. So I think we're gonna bring in the filmmakers.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna start with Ana Laura Calderon from Corazón de Mezquite. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here with you. And we had already a Q&A before, and it was really amazing to be there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Ana Laura's doing like 3 things. She did a Tucine conversation, this, and then she has a Q&A at 6, I think. So we're keeping her really busy.
I feel like in a real festival, you see, like real busy.
Yes, let's go. Can I get talent? Where's talent?
Exactly. Thank you very much.
All right, now we bring in Ala Khan from A Prayer Beyond Borders. How you doing?
It's good to see you all. I did a Q&A on Tuesday night, and it was really lovely to see all those filmmakers. So I'm excited to join this conversation.
Thank you for joining us. And then, when you have a Q&A later today too.
Yes, yeah.
Documentary shorts. Mm-hmm. And we're going to bring in Claudia Escobar from Dear Homeland.
Hello. How are you all?
Pretty good. Thank you. Then we have Gilbert. Hi, Gilbert. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you.
Gilbert, are you Gilbert Galvan?
I am, yeah, from the Our Quinceañera. I'm the executive producer.
Welcome, Gilbert. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, Moises? I figured I'd log in the link. I just got off a meeting and I was like, oh, let me log in before tonight's screen. So
excellent.
Then I think we have Axel Nunez here. Oh, there he is. From La Última Frontera. Hi, Axel.
Gracias. Saludos desde Mexicali.
Saludos.
Sí, gracias. Aquí divirtiéndonos, Scarlett y yo. Atentos aquí a Q&A.
Gracias. Es 2 por 1 tu Q&A. Perfecto. So to start off, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what your movie's about for our viewers? We'll start with you, Ana Laura.
Okay. Well, this is a story about Lucia, a little girl. She's a Yoreme girl. That's part of an indigenous community in the north of Mexico. And Lucia's dream is to play the harp, in a way to become closer to her father, and also because it's her dream. So it's her journey, her adventure to make her dream come true and become closer to her father.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Gilbert?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Our Quinceañera is a documentary, full-length feature about my hometown, and the principal person that it covers is my father. And so my dad is the principal of a ninth grade academy in San Benito, Texas, which is in the South Texas, the most southern border, and where it's 99% Latino and Latinas live there. And so ninth grade year is the year of the quinceañera, and he has 800 students in his school, and half of those are girls. And he was noticing that a lot of the young ladies weren't having quinceañeras, so he asked them about it, and they basically said they couldn't afford it. So he said, okay, well, I'll throw one for you. And so we filmed the 4th year of this new type of quinceañera. It's like a big group quinceañera, and there were 80 girls involved, and it was really amazing. And it was, it's traveled around. The film's been traveling around, and it's been a joy to share it. And my dad will actually be on the Q&A today, coming from Texas. So hope everyone joined for that.
Thank you. How are you, Claudia?
Hi, so I'm here with Dear Homeland. We're showing it tonight too, so it's really exciting. I'm super grateful with you guys to make it happen. It's a great opportunity. So Dear Homeland is the story of Diana Gameros, who is a singer-songwriter from Ciudad Juarez. And she lived undocumented here in the US for 16 years, and she's an incredible, super talented musician and activist, and a beautiful human being that had inspired me so much. And then she was able to go back home after 16 years. So it's also the story of going back home and what that means for a person that hasn't been in their homelands and stepping in their homelands for such a long time. So it was like 3 years of shooting and an amazing journey with Diana and her family that is like the most beautiful family in the world. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Claudia.
Thank
How about you, Alakan?
My short documentary is A Prayer Beyond Borders, which San Diego, Tijuana, Friendship Park is the only place on the U.S.-Mexican border where families can meet. And so the border church was established 11 years ago that allows families to meet there every Sunday. And the film is about the first time the Muslim community joins the church community to have the first ever binational, bi-religious prayer service. So our documentary features heavily the Latina Muslim community that lives in Tijuana and Rosarito. And that was the first ever gathering, but it's been consistently happening every month since the film was shot last year.
Thank you. ¿Qué tal tú, Axel?
Bueno, pues mi corto documental es sobre la esperanza, que tenemos cuando llegamos a vivir a la frontera, con esos sueños de lograr ser y de poder realizar nuestra vida. El documental es sobre tres amigos haitianos que vinieron en 2016 para tratar de entrar a los Estados Unidos por un tratado de amnistía. Y pues bueno, al cerrarse las fronteras, muchos se quedan aquí y pues ellos deciden hacer su vida a partir de vivir en México. Y pues bueno, coincide con el nacimiento de mi hija. Curiosamente, este documental corto se relaciona mucho con el nacimiento de mi hija. Es una anécdota muy curiosa de que mi esposa estaba embarazada, se le antojaron unos dulces y fuimos a una dulcería y ahí conocimos a Jimmy, a Peter, el chico haitiano que está en el documental, y Y pues bueno, esta relación nace, sí, a partir del embarazo de mi esposa y unos dulces mexicanos que quería probar, y ahí conocimos a Peter.
So Axel was talking about how his film is about the hope and that we have when we come here, live in the border, and it features three Haitian men who show up here before they moved out here. So thank you again for coming out so much. Moises, did you have any questions for these guys?
Yeah, maybe less specific film related, but something I love at the festival is during Q&As with filmmakers, audience members who are thinking about starting their first short film or feature film, they always ask the filmmakers for a great piece of advice. So that's something I always love hearing also as a moderator, because I find it also personally inspiring and touching. So if the filmmakers could share the best piece of advice that they've received from someone else, and also their own personal advice that they would pass on to someone else. So, durante el festival y las sesiones de preguntas y respuestas, muchas veces hay personas, viendo la película o participando en la sesión de preguntas y respuestas, que quizás está pensando de montar su primer montaje o largometraje, o cortometraje o largometraje, disculpen, y muchas veces piden consejos que quizás han recibido ustedes, o quizás si ustedes tienen un consejo que quisieran compartir, si pueden compartir los dos, un consejo que han recibido y un consejo que quizás es personal específicamente a ustedes. Y no todos tienen que contestar, solo si quieren participar pueden levantar la mano o algo. Not everyone has to participate during these questions. You can raise your hand or maybe just interject when appropriate. Let's bring Axel back. Okay, Ana Laura.
Yeah, it's funny because it's almost the same question I had in the previous Q&A. So yeah, I think for the young people who wants to be a filmmaker, to become a filmmaker, I think the most important thing in this is not to give up, to be very patient, to be very, very, very patient. Sometimes it takes many years to get a film done, even a short film. And you have to be persistent. That's the most important thing. You're going to fall from here very high, and you have to get up again. Each time, maybe it's harder and harder, but the reward will come here, right? And this is from me to the filmmakers or wannabe filmmakers, right? But I remember when I direct my first feature film. I have this friend who's a director also, and I was really, really nervous because I told him that I didn't know what I was doing, and he said, okay, you have to pretend and to convince everyone that you know exactly what you're doing. That's the most important thing about directing a film. So it doesn't matter that you don't know what are you doing there. It doesn't matter you are really nervous, but you just pretend and make them believe that you are pretty sure of yourself and what you are doing. So I think it was very important for me because I am a good actress then, you see, because I think everyone thought I was in control of everything and I wasn't. So that's the two consejos I have.
Gracias. I'll jump in here on this. So so this is actually my first film. And I've lived in Los Angeles for 12 years. I've wanted to make films for a long time, on the directing or the acting side, but producing. And some advice that some pretty big time producers that I know gave me was make the first one about something you know. And there's nothing I know better than my dad and my hometown and things. So when this story about my dad kind of came out, I was like, wow, this would make a really great documentary. And I wanted to make it. And so that's where, and then I guess the advice I would give is surround yourself with the smartest, most talented people that you can, because that's what I did. I went and found people that I knew were experienced and really good at what they did and put together the right team to make the movie that I wanted to make. And so that's the advice I would give to people. And I mean, it was a success for us. We did really well with it. But you know, I've always gone by the saying that I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So I go find people to fix and fit in the holes where I don't know things. And so that's advice that I'll give to any filmmaker out there.
That's wonderful advice. That phrase is just like, I feel like it encapsulates in a way what a director should be, or a filmmaker, right? Like, you gotta identify your strengths and weaknesses, and then try to fill them in other ways. Wow, that's awesome. Anybody else has an answer to that question? Oh, Claudia, go ahead.
Yeah, in different parts of my career, I think there is one question that always, like, other people or other producers or other people that I've worked with, which always stick with me, and sometimes it's a difficult one to respond, but I think it's the best way to start a project, and is ask yourself why you want to tell this story. And I think that with that answer, sometimes it takes a while to respond this, but if you have that answer, I think then you can create that story, like to know why you're telling it, why it's important, why you want to put it out, and then from there you start shaping it. So that's kind of like the first, no, it's not an advice, but it's kind of like the beginning of starting a story. And personally, my advice is to follow your voice, to follow like the little animal thing that we all have inside telling us how to tell stories. We all tell stories differently, and we are individuals with different experiences. And I think my advice is to follow that voice that you have, because if you want to make a documentary, you're a storyteller. So what is your voice? And I think that is super important. And mostly with us, that we come from many different places with so many different backgrounds, I think keeping our voices individual and very like ourselves, I think is an important thing.
Go ahead, Ala. Yeah.
Okay, I want to jump on top of anyone. It's very similar to what Gilbert was saying. The best piece of advice I ever got was that you should tell your own story, or a story that's close to you. You might have these like big lofty themes or things that inspire you, that make you want to tell stories, but telling something that's personal or that you've experienced is more relatable than you realize. That like those personal human stories are what connect us. So telling something very personal will be relatable to other people, even if it feels really personal. And then that's the best advice I got. And then advice I would give is don't be afraid to ask for support and for help from people that can be mentors, that you can ask advice from. People have this idea that like, oh, he or she's really successful and busy and don't have time for me, but just like, don't be afraid to reach out to people and like ask for support. Filmmaking is a team sport and cannot do it alone. So just reach out to those people, and you might really they might really be inspired by your story. So they might really want to help.
Anyone else want to share anything? Yeah, Axel.
Voy a decirlo en español.
Sí, está bien.
Pues bueno, uno de los consejos que he escuchado y que he recibido de manera indirecta, no precisamente así directo, es de Alex. Alex, uno de los chicos que está en la Asociación Americana de Cinematógrafos, cuando un compañero le preguntó cuáles eran las cualidades que requería tener un cinematógrafo para pertenecer a la Asociación Americana de Cinematógrafos, y Alex le comentó que la actitud, entre muchas otras cosas, la actitud era uno de los elementos que ellos consideraban bien importantes para aceptar a un miembro de la asociación. Y eso, reflexionándolo y trayéndolo a la práctica de la realización, me doy cuenta que es muy, muy importante tener una muy buena actitud ante nuestros compañeros, ante en este caso, la realidad que queremos registrar cuando hacemos documental. Creo que hay que tener como mucho respeto y una actitud muy positiva ante otras realidades, como estas a las que yo me enfrenté con los hermanos haitianos cuando llegaron a Baja California, porque de alguna manera se sentía en el aire un clima pues un poco complicado en cuanto a su estancia por acá, ¿no? Que llegó a quizá causar algunos brotes de racismo. Entonces, con este trabajo yo me identifico mucho con la cuestión migrante al vivir yo en la frontera y en la manera en que la gente a mí me acogió en Mexicali. Y es por eso que la actitud es una llave para poder mantener como pues este equilibrio, ¿no? En el poder vivir en estos mundos liminales, en estas dos fronteras o en estos intersticios. Cuando una persona es migrante, pues debe asumir una actitud pues realmente muy positiva para poder sobrevivir en una frontera como esta. Gracias.
Juan, do you have a question for Filmmakers?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys on. It's been a really challenging time since March, but in a way, it gave everyone a chance to step back and kind of take a breather. So I was wondering if there was anything that you guys have been able to accomplish since, or like, have you decided to take a break, or are you working on new stuff? Maybe you're busier than before. I feel like sometimes sometimes I personally feel busier than before the quarantine. But did you have a chance to are you developing new projects? Did you have a chance to revisit old ones? But yeah, why don't you talk to us about that? But before you answer, I'm gonna introduce here Eli Jacobs Fantasia. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Did you catch the last question?
What we've been doing during quarantine?
Yeah, exactly. And then Axel, que diga, algunas, porque no nos platicas de lo que has estado haciendo durante la cuarentena, si has hecho nuevos trabajos o estás como dice, developing nuevas cosas, o estás revisitando trabajos de tiempos de antes, que algo que a lo mejor habías puesto a un lado y ahora quieres ver cómo lo haces. A ver, podemos empezar contigo, Axel.
Actualmente, pues en esta cuarentena, pues coincidió que mi esposa otra vez está embarazada. Entonces, todo el tiempo he estado con ella y, pues bueno, coincide también con un proyecto de posgrado en el que estoy estudiando sobre el documental en Baja California. Y pues bueno, la verdad es que pues he estado como muy ocupado dentro de mi casa que de repente me gustaría que a veces, créanme, a veces pienso que me gustaría que no se terminara todavía para mí, está resguardado. Me gustaría tener un poco más de tiempo para terminar de hacer mis cosas. Pero bueno, también esto me ha dado oportunidad para poderme capacitar. Ha habido muchos cursos muy interesantes en muchos lugares del mundo, en muchas ciudades de México, que han sido pues bastante interesantes. Creo que ha habido como esta posibilidad, ¿no? De hacer como muchas cosas a la distancia, darle mucha potencialidad a este tipo de trabajos, a este tipo de herramientas como las que estamos teniendo ahorita, porque sí, esto hizo posible, ¿no? Que yo esté aquí con ustedes, a pesar de que estamos muy cerca, entre Calexico y San Diego son 2 horas, entonces para mí es de repente muy largo, ¿no? Entonces estas posibilidades, estas nuevas herramientas que estamos empezando a descubrir, pues creo que pues nos van llevando a otras posibilidades de conectarnos con nosotros mismos, y eso pues hace que rompamos las fronteras. Y esto para mí es muy importante, ¿no? El romper estas fronteras espaciales y temporales, creo que es algo que tenemos que empezar a poder a reconsiderar, ¿no? Para no perdernos nosotros mismos, ¿no? Encontrarnos nosotros mismos ante esta inmensidad que es la red de redes.
No, gracias. So Axel, his wife was pregnant, so he's been able to dedicate time to her, and also he's working post production on a project, and he's able to take a lot of courses that I think he feels like he wouldn't have been able to take before. But since we're in a virtual setting, it's giving him a capacity to achieve more in that sense, and he feels like this virtual setting is really helping us connect one another, kind of like we are here from different places and different time zones maybe. So it's really in a way breaking borders. I feel like I hope I got the gist of the message there. Translation to real talent. My hat tip to them. Anybody else who wants to go next? Anybody wants to? Oh.
Okay. Well, I want to say this part in Spanish to Axel. Axel, tenemos mucho más en común de lo que yo creía, porque, bueno, primero felicidades por tu bebé, pero justo yo tuve mi bebé y me fui a filmar mi película cuando tenía ya 4 meses, y justo fui mamá por segunda y tercera vez porque tuve mellizos ahora en enero. Entonces estoy empandemiada con 3 bebés aquí en mi casa, and this is going crazy. Está volviendo loco. Entonces, bueno, felicidades. ¿Continúo en inglés o en español? ¿Cómo me dicen? Bueno, okay. Well, yeah, well, as I was saying, I became a mom again this January. Well, I was a mom 4 months before I shot this film, the one we are showing here in this festival. So, and now before this quarantine, in January I was mom again from 2 boys. So I have 3 babies now here in my house, and it has been really crazy for me, and well, for everyone living here, of course, and because I almost have no time, but I'm still editing, and I'm working into new projects. Well, now that I already finished the script, it's called Cicatrices, Scars on Jupiter, and the other one I'm starting the treatment. Because I'm taking a course with a teacher in Spain, so we are students from all around the world, mostly Latin America, taking this course, and it's amazing because it gives you the impression that you are not in quarantine, right? So I'm actually a student with other students from all around the world, and then that's really amazing. But otherwise, the other stuff is going crazy because I'm, as I told you, part mom, part editing, and part developing new projects. So for me, the quarantine has been crazy, and I need the schools to open soon. Thank you.
How about you, Claudia?
Okay. Well, for me, it has been a little, with many people, a lot of plans changed. I came back from Mexico. I was living in Mexico, working on a project there, and came back here to be with Dear Homeland and do everything with that. And then COVID hit. So I live in the Bay Area. So now I'm here in the Bay Area. So a lot of plans changed, but good things are happening. I think I'm like starting my independent life. And with that, I'm creating with other 2 friends, Women of Color production company, and that is super exciting. So we're kind of like starting to make it happen, and our goal is to make more documentaries about the Latino community, but also Black folks and like all immigrants from everywhere, kind of like cover all this that is not only white. And so that is very exciting. I'm super, super excited about it, and starting to development and research for 2 projects, one in Latin America and one here. So it's been a good creative time and challenging and weird and everything.
Anybody else?
I'll go. My name is Eli Jacobs Fantasia. I'm the producer director of Baco Soul, Afrobeats de Cuba. And so during the quarantine, I was actually in Miami before the quarantine. We just did the Miami International Film Festival. We did a sold out screening. And on my birthday, March 9th, I leave. I land in California. The next day, I get a call from email from San Diego Latino Film Festival saying it's canceled. So I was just waiting for my plane to come back to Puerto Rico. And it just started getting worse and worse and worse. And I ended up being in California for 3.5 months. And so in that time, I was able to write some grants, which is good, slow down the pace of life a little bit and write some grants. And some of that funding has been coming in, so that's great. And my new project is called We Still Here. And it's about a community in Comerío in the mountains of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. And it's about what a just recovery looks like. So I'm really interested in just storytelling as documentary filmmakers become less extractive and make films with communities rather than about them. And also just transition after disaster. How do you look at the skills of a community and help them envision the world that they want to build for themselves?
That's great. So me, other than growing my hair out during quarantine, so this is 6 months of growth. I've actually never had long hair like this, as long as it's ever been my entire life. I'm usually pretty clean and buzzed on the sides. And working my day job every day from home instead of being at my office. Working on another project, which is actually a feature film, so super early in the process on that. And then working on getting distribution for our quinceañera, which we're getting close to. So that's a big piece. Like I said, we very similar. We were about to head to San Diego for the festival when everything kind of shut down, and I know we tried. They waited as long as they could to try to hopefully get it to go, and so it's kind of been shifting since then. But luckily, people are hopefully still excited to see our film. So we're we're moving along, and then hopefully we'll have it out to the masses as soon as possible.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see everyone's films. Actually, I'm like, there's a few. I'm like, oh, I want to see that. I want to see that. Some like kind of a conglomerate of everyone else's experiences. My background is as an editor, so I've kept up with that and actually started taking some more classes to like level up in that regard. And kind of had some fun playing around with some BTS for the film we're showing here that I never got around to during like post-production of the actual film. So that's been fun. And then I started, I've always been in documentary film and more commercial work. So I started writing narrative during the quarantine, and I have a finished script that I'm hopefully trying to get off the ground with some production super early in the stages right now. But I'm actually hoping that the person who co-produced this film, Prayer Beyond Borders, will help me produce a narrative, and that will be my first narrative. So it's been productive, busy time. Thank you.
Thank you. For those who have well, I think all of you guys have documentaries here. Yeah, I think about it like Chelsea. Do any of you have ever delved into narrative filmmaking, or if you haven't, besides Alakana, are you interested? Because I know that she is. We can start with Gilbert.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, this was our first film, and I mean, I was always, I had a lot of friends who were like, "Oh, are you going to do a short first?" And I was like, "No, that's not really my style. I'm going all in. We're doing, we're just going to do a feature film and get it done." But that's just who I am, and I figure if I'm going to do something, I might as well just do the whole thing. and go big on it. And so, you know, we crowdfunded this documentary and then got there. And now I've got a couple more stories from where I'm home that are more narrative. And so it's a possible biopic that I'm working on. And so working to acquire the rights for it right now. And then hopefully, you know, in the next year or so, really start moving on it. But I like to move fast. I don't like to wait too long once I get started. So hopefully that'll happen once we get going. But yeah, I love documentary, and I'm sure I'll do more. I've got a couple of really cool ideas for some that I want to work on, but I also want to do you know, narrative work too.
Awesome, thank you. Who would like to go next? Anybody else? Oh, go ahead, Claudia.
I think I did at the very beginning of my career. I started with narrative, but very short and like just a bunch of friends doing things, and then life took me to documentary. And now, after all this mix of many things that I've done, I'm really interested in the mix of both things, or like, yeah, I'm not sure yet how, but I feel like there are some brilliant filmmakers right now that are kind of like doing documentaries in a way that it feels like narrative, and some parts are staged, some parts are just following the people. And I find that so interesting to me. I kind of like want to master and see how they work and how much access you have to in order to get this type of story developed that way. So I'm interested in kind of like the hybrid between those two worlds.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
I just want to take a moment to introduce our new filmmaker, Arturo Pulido, director of Indocumentado Sin Miedo.
Hello, everyone.
Hola, Arturo. Hi, Arturo.
I'm fine, thank you. I was waiting for the link, but I can't find it.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you have it now and that you're joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to see you and everyone else. My friend Axel from Mexicali. But I'm here finally.
Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Indocumentado Sin Miedo? Maybe like a little synopsis?
Okay, I'm gonna say, for me, it's like a radiography of immigration, police activity, protests, and the dreams of the kids. It was kind of hard to make this film. I was working on this film like 6-7 years with a different crews. And thank you very much to Jane Arapawe. She was the producer, and she makes a very, very wonderful job. I was working in Los Angeles, Guadalajara, and Tijuana, and I was doing the edition like 7 months. You know what I'm saying, guys? It's very hard to be editing jobs. And for me, I discovered the film and the editing bay. And I wanna say this movie is some kind of big panoramic of what's going on with the caravans on Mexico, and what's going on with the immigration over there in Los Angeles, particularly, and what happened in Tijuana with those kids. After of that, we will see the dreams of some kids, no, what they wanna be when they grow up. So I have a lot of police activity, a lot of detentions, a lot of protests in Hollywood Boulevard, a lot of people asking for better politics on immigrations, better. They just want a different kind of access to get a better life. So they cross 2 different countries, Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, and they cross all the way to Mexico. We're gonna see in this movie who are the responsibles for the caravan in Tijuana, who brings the caravan to the border. We have the responsibles in this film. I have a lot of interviews with different persons from different countries, who was pushing to those guys to come to the border, no? Because everyone, when we saw the news, we saw a lot of mm, disaster, no, chaos, like 40,000 people crossing the border, trying to cross the U.S. border. When they approach the border, they don't know where was the border, where was the line, what's gonna happen if they cross the border, and that we have the military, army, and the CBP waiting for them. So I was in front line with my crew, breathing the tear gas and running with those guys, behind of those guys. So that's the point of view of my movie.
Thank you, Arturo, for sharing with us. Sorry, Juan, should we go back to the question you had? We're all, well, not, I guess not everyone is a documentarian because Analado's film is a narrative.
Oh, sure.
But we were talking about if any documentary filmmakers here had ever done a narrative feature. So that's what we were discussing right before you walked in. So I don't know if anyone else wanted to share. Yeah, go ahead, Ana Laura.
Yeah, because well, my first feature was a documentary in Cuba, and I made that in 2007. And then my first narrative is like a kind of commercial narrative film here in Mexico. And these mesquites are the one you're showing here. It's like I want to think like a mixture between a narrative and a documentary, because we worked with non-actors. We work at their homes. We work with their wardrobes, with their costumes, with everything. So it's if you can watch it, it's a narrative, but has a sense of a documentary in a way, because it's very real what's going on there. And as I told you, the actors are non-actors, most of them. So I don't know. And well, I've been editing for many years, and I've been editing in documentaries and narratives also. And well, I agree with Claudia. So I think that maybe we should try to experience different kinds of narratives in the documentary, mixing narrative, and also because in Mexico there's a difference between commercial and author cinema. So I think we should experience not, or we should try to not to have to draw that line, just to make hybrids with those words, because usually a commercial has some characteristics and an author has other characteristics. But I guess it's cinema, right? So we should try to do more cinema, not commercial or author. That's all.
More experimental.
Yeah, a mixture. I think so. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. How about you, Arturo? Or have you ever delved into narrative filmmaking?
Oh yeah, I have experience in fiction, doing music videos, a lot of investigation, criminal investigation, police activity, covering disaster in California. I have a very, very deep work on camera, big scenarios of like working behind of sheriffs or what's the name of those guys, the police of the highways?
Oh, CHP.
CHP, yeah, working with those guys, with the sheriff, with the LAPD, covering a lot of immigration situations, deportations. In my panorama is like, the administration of Barack Obama, he was this guy was deported thousands of people, more than Trump. and Obama was doing like 7 wars around the world. This guy Trump, he don't has any war. Huge difference. So in my experience, I was like working and with a lot of immigration guys. I have a lot of friends over there without visa, without papers, living without fear, no, without like, hey, I don't want to go Hollywood because I don't have papers to be there. What about if the police come to me asking for my papers? Dude, that's not gonna happen. And on my perspective of experience, it's like 14, 16 years of immigration, uh, living in the border in Tijuana or even in Los Angeles. I have a very big eye on what's going on with the immigration.
Awesome, thank you. How about you, Eli?
Yeah, I love doing like kind of poetic narratives. So not just straight narrative. Think of like Beast of the Southern Wild, something that feels kind of documentary but really poetic. And also, I did my master's in NYU for interactive art. So I'm interested in interactive documentary filmmaking, and I've been playing with a few ways of how to do that. And so it's kind of like a framework that I'm developing.
Thank you. ¿Qué tal tú, Alex? ¿Haces proyectos de ficción también o documentalista solamente?
No, pues de todo. De hecho, hasta quinceañeras. De hecho, sí, digo, aquí de repente, cuando el trabajo no es abundante, pues las quinceañeras y las bodas, pues no. También es una forma, ¿no? De aproximarse al registro de la realidad, ¿no? Y de repente uno, pues, trata de improvisar y hasta ficción, ¿no? Hasta ficción haces en una quinceañera. A mí me gusta mucho trabajar con el cine documental porque es una manera de acercarnos de una forma muy, muy personal. Trabajas con un crew pequeño, o casi tú mismo eres el crew, ¿no? Y pues es una forma muy honesta, ¿no? De contar historias, porque quizá esta línea que divide entre el cine de ficción y el cine documental a veces es un poco borrosa. Quizá estamos acostumbrados a esos convencionalismos, pero pues a mí en lo particular considero que es hasta cierto punto pertinente producir cine en México con ese tipo digamos, de mecanismo, ¿no? A mí trabajar con este documental de 10 minutos, pues realmente no tuve como un apoyo económico para hacerlo y tampoco pues lo necesité porque digo lo hacía con lo que tenía, con una cámara y con muchas ganas, ¿no? Con muchas ganas y eso es lo padre, ¿no? Que con un crew de 3 o 4 personas puedes aproximarte, ¿no? A contar historias, a jugar a hacer cine. Y pues bueno, tratar de crear hasta cierto punto, no sé si conciencia, ¿no? O evidenciar estos aspectos, ¿no? De nuestros fenómenos culturales en los que vivimos, ¿no? En estos lugares como son las Californias, ¿no? Sí. Y me da gusto verte, Arturo, también.
Amigo del alma.
Aquí estamos teniendo amigos en el Festival de Cine Latino.
Curiosamente, las narrativas siempre nos llevan a esto, ¿no? A poder experimentar y jugar, romper las reglas de Hollywood. Yo siempre he dicho que Hollywood es como, pues te adoctrina a pensar que tienes que cumplir con el guión de ciertas maneras, las cuartillas, el desglose, las necesidades, pero cuando te sabes las reglas las puedes romper bien fácil y puedes experimentar con temáticas, con narrativas, lo de que dice Hazel, tú le puedes vender a 1000 quinceañeras un video diferente porque cada uno te muestra una visión diferente. Puedes hacer 1,000,000 de bodas, puedes hacer diferentes temáticas, puedes contar la narrativa de tu barrio, de tu ciudad, de tus amigos. Hay historias para buscar en cada lugar y jugar con las narrativas, experimentar con la edición, experimentar hasta con la misma música. Uno puede generar las atmósferas sin necesidad de pagarle a un profesional en música que te cobra miles de dólares por hacerte la música, ¿no? Entonces, ahora yo creo que 2020 sí marca la diferencia. Hace 20 años que iniciábamos, bueno, yo en mi experiencia hace 20 años sí sentía que veía lejos hacer una película, ¿no? Participaba en los cortos de mis amigos o en videoclips, pero con un temor por no querer, por no saber o por no arriesgarme a contar una película, ¿no? Y ahí está, es simplemente, ya sabemos qué está pasando allá afuera, ya sabemos usar los programas, las computadoras, el lenguaje, encuadrar, editar, iluminar. Vamos a capturar 300 horas y de esas 300 horas contemos 10, 20, 30 minutos lo que nos dé la narrativa y nuestra imaginación, porque somos multifuncionales, rompemos el estereotipo de Hollywood de que si te contratan para hacer iluminación, nomás haces iluminación y el pobre güey se la vive 100 años en iluminación, ¿no? O 50 años editando películas. Nosotros en México, o no sé si en Latinoamérica, no, vemos ese punto de somos todólogos, ¿no? Pero lo hacemos bien, sabemos cuántos decibeles te marca el micrófono, sabemos cómo funcionan los lentes, la luz, los grados Kelvin, cuántos planos existen, cuántas películas, todo el lenguaje cinematográfico ya lo tenemos. Entonces, simplemente sentarnos en la computadora y tratar de que la creatividad nos llueva, no sé si por medio de una lluvia divina, no sé cómo nos caiga esa imaginación para poder transmitirlo en pantalla. Y nosotros somos de transmitir las cosas en pantalla, ¿no? No somos tontos para hablar en persona, lo digo yo pero para contar la narrativa de lo que sucede en el mundo, pues a través de la computadora y las pantallas. Ese es como mi punto de vista. Simplemente no respetamos las reglas, ni las narrativas, ni los estilos, ni nada. Queremos que alguien cache el mensaje, alguien en la audiencia que nos ve o que vea lo que le transmitimos. Y eso lo digo como piensan algunos otros cineastas y creadores, ¿no? Ellos no piensan en cómo lo hacen, sino en lo que quieren mostrar. De ahí se desprende yo estaba viendo, a veces ves una película 3, 4, 5 veces y encuentras cosas que no habías visto. Es como entrar en un laberinto, ¿no? De narrativas, de tapujos, de barreras, de puertas, y cada vez vas aprendiendo y aprendiendo y aprendiendo más de lo que el director te quería contar, ¿no? Mi humilde opinión.
Gracias, Arturo, por compartir. Well, we're at our hour mark. Maybe we can wrap up with a generalized question, maybe, Juan? How do you feel?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess, how is your film representative of the type of films you want to see more of, either in festivals, on Netflix, on whatever platform? How is your film representative of the type of movies that you want to see? En español, si nos pueden explicar brevemente cómo piensan que el cine de ustedes es representativo del cine que quieren ver, si es en el cine, en otros festivales, en Netflix, etcétera. ¿Qué representa su cine? Y si todos pueden contestar, estuviera padre. If anyone could answer, that'd be great. Briefly. If anyone wants to go first, just maybe raise your hand. Ala?
I was just laughing when you asked the question because I feel like I can answer that on so many levels for my film, even though it's a short. It basically all boils down to representation. There's just people and intersections of religion and race and ethnicity and language that are just not represented ever in media. I have so many like Latino Muslims in my film. just representation about like the importance of faith in the advocacy and immigration world, and just like like faith communities coming together in unity and solidarity with one another, like regardless of language or racial barriers. So yeah, like all my films, I hope like have just like a really conscious focus on representing communities and people that are just not normally seen in these spaces.
Thank you, Ella. Who wants to go next? Ana Laura?
Yeah, I think I agree with Ala because most of the films that we see about indigenous people from Mexico are about violence, are violent films, are about poverty and about the bad side of being an indigenous. So I think one of the things we wanted to share with this film that there's a lot more to tell about indigenous cultures in our country. In the first place, I think. Then I will say there's not a lot of cinema for children around the world. So now for me as a mom, it's very important to have quality cinema for my children to watch in the future, of course. And then also elder people are not very represented in cinema around the world. And then I have elderly characters in my film. And I think it's very important to have them also because they are also excluded in everything. And well, now the most important thing, I think, or one of the most important things is we need to have more cinema with the point of view of women. I think this is the time for us girls to show.
I'm agree with you.
Yeah, but this is a time for us for us to tell our stories now because we have been for decades watching films with the female characters directed and written by men, and I don't think that's bad or anything. But I think that this is now the times that we can show what we really think, how we really are, and how we're going to change language and cinema. This decade that's coming, there are a lot of women filmmakers and directors and producers and DPs and everything. So I think this is going to be it's going to be a huge change in cinema around the world now. And I think that. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia.
Yeah, totally with you, Ana Laura. I think I think that's super important and something that I wanted also to show here that I want to see more is this. Yeah, the presence of women and the presence of moms and different generations of women together in a film, because I think those dynamics that we have with our elders or our moms or our grandmas or kids. I don't have much kids in my film, but like, as you say, like having different generations in a film, I think is super important. And also something that I think Dear Homeland has is, it was kind of like an approach that I want to get deeper into my work and that I want to see more also in the mainstream per se or something, is like the mix of poetic lyricism with the reality, kind of like a poetic activism in a way, like trying to translate and to talk about topics that are sometimes very hard, but transform them in a way that is not like in your head activism, is more like transform it into poems. And a lot of I don't know, I feel like we all have a lot in our heads while a lot of things are happening, and how do you bring those thoughts that you have or your characters have into a film? So I think is that lyricism with reality that I find very beautiful, and I think if we see more of that, maybe we can have more empathy between, I don't know, generations or races or religious views or genre or all these things. So yeah, I think that's what Dear Homeland has that I want to see more out there.
Eli, do you want to go next?
Yes, please. Thank you, Claudia. Claudia, I agree with you so much. I think that the documentary film genre has been stuck in telling really sad stories about the world, and you leave the theater feeling like the world is a horrible place. So I'm interested in changing that and telling exciting, loving, inspiring stories, but also doing it through a way where we can celebrate each other and our victories as well. I believe what Gordon Parks would say, that his camera is a weapon. I believe that my storytelling is a weapon, and our stories are weapons to tear down white supremacy, to tear down colonialism, to keep our customs and our traditions alive, to say, hey, we exist, we're here, to tear down toxic masculinity. It's a way to fight back, and that's what I use the camera for. And in my film, Baco Soul, Afrobeats of Cuba, is uplifting the voices of Afro-Latinos. It's doing it through music and culture, and through Ifa, Santeria, through ancient religion. And also, it's a way of saying Black Lives Matter without needing even to say Black Lives Matter. It shows that they're our fabric of our society. They're love, they are music, they are family, they're everything. And so it's just an expression of that love.
That's true.
Axel or Arturo, who wants to go next?
Axel, be my guest.
Well, finally, let me try in English. I'm very shy when I speak English, but let me try. Well, my short film maybe try to represent a piece of community in the world. They represent a part of the humanity that we live actually, because the problems that we live in the border are the problems that we live in all the world. The injustice, the many problems that we live in the world are represented in the border. And I don't want to change anything. I just want to try to compare, communicate, try to communicate with the film, with the camera, and maybe this part of film represent part of my community in Baja California, in Mexicali, in the town on the border in Mexicali. Um, I just want to congratulate all my partners that are here, because your films are great, and I'm very proud of to be part of San Diego Latino Film Fest. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Arturo, do you want to close us out?
Okay, well, in my perspective of like living in the border or between immigration and police activity, this situation happens around the world, no? Every single corner, every single street, we have a lot of police abuse, we have a lot of shootings, we have a lot of immigration, we have a lot of people coming from different parts of the world, trying to figure out like what's better for them, what's better for us, no? Fiction sometimes is very easy to make, no? You have everything handled, you have whatever you need in the screenplay, you're gonna find it. You have the resources, you have the people, you have the money. For documentary, in my experience, is very more hard to do, because you can control nothing after of your crew of whatever you wanna be. You don't know if the people on the camera, front of the camera, they are telling the truth, no? What are they coming, what kind of problems they have, or what's the situation, or what do you wanna show with documentary? For me, documentary film is more novel. It's like scratching the reality to show some point of views, like, hey, this is the situation, we are doing this, we want to show you what's going on in the world, what's going on in the reality, what's going on in the community, what's the problems. If you are mixing both fiction and documentary, you can make more friendly the cinema, because now people, when you are talking about documentary, it's like they think like, oh, it's boring, there's a lot of graphics, there's a lot of history, so new narratives are like developing new kind of speeches, no? So we're filmmakers, we are creativity people, so we don't gonna stop for anything. We want to show what's in our minds, what's going on in the world.
Thank you, Arturo. Very nicely put, and a great way for us to sign off of this Meet the Filmmakers edition, Thursday, day 8. The festival runs until September 27th. Thank you so much for joining us, for letting us screen your movie under virtual terms, which is, I know, not ideal perhaps, but it's just what we have to do now to ensure everyone's safety. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today, for your time, which I know is very, very important. Juan and I have loved being able to speak with everyone on a more intimate level, even though we're so far away. Sometimes I feel during the festival, Juan and I are running around like crazy, trying to keep everything together. But this gives us a great opportunity to have like a sit down and to really, engage with you. So even though we're very far away, this has been a very personal experience for me. Thank you so much. And even though this is amazing, I really hope to be able to screen your movies on the big screen at some point.
Yeah. Next year.
Next year. Juan, do you want to say anything?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys again for joining us, and I think all you guys have movies playing today at some point. For our audience who's out there, I don't know if at some point you start the social media accounts for their films. If you like their films, the best thing you can do for filmmakers is help spread the word on their films. So if you watch them today, if you like the films, raise their voice. Let's help them. Let's help them lift their voice and have let more people know of their films and help them maybe get distribution or maybe help them get funding for future work. That's the least we can do as an audience. The more we watch Latino film, the more Latino film there will be.
And if you can't see the movies, we'll be broadcasting the Q&As on social media. So Corazón de Mezquita Q&A starts at 6. Indocumentados Sin Miedo, 6:34. The Environmental Shorts Program, 8:05. La Casa de 1C, 7:40. Dear Homeland, 7:42. Our Quinceañera, 8:15. And then the Frontera Filmmakers Documentaries program, 8:31. Oh, everything's in military time, and I forgot what 20 meant, even though I had just done it. My mistake.
happens.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and best of luck.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
Mucho gusto, gracias.
Okay, gracias.
Let's connect each other in some kind of platform.
I'll make a Google Doc with everyone's information.
Exactly that.
Is that cool?
Important.
Thank you.
Perfect. See ya.